No way, Jose.
The following footage proves beyond any doubt that the tanks intentionally set the house on fire. It proves that the Branch Davidians were murdered. You can see that this tank has a gas jet on the front that shoots fire. You can also see the fire quite plainly. The tank goes into the house twice, and each time as it backs out, the fire at the gas jets is plainly visible.
We must all do more to recognize and look for the early warning signals that deeply troubled young people send.
Good morning. How do I sound? How do I look? Is everything working well? It looks good on my end. Just want to check in with you guys. Sorry for all the technical issues. Last stream, we're figuring it out. It's one of those things. I don't have a producer here for these morning shows. I haven't gotten quite to that ritzy of an area. Let me know. See, sounding good. All right, we already gonna check. That's what I got you guys for. Doing these solo streams is hard though, because if you don't have something like normally when you do like a guest or have someone on, you can tell if you sound good. Someone's also saying I look handsome. Thank you. I don't know. I felt like I had a weird hair day today. Well, guys, it's Monday, December 16th. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the morning dump. As you can see, it's titled BlueBeam Intensified. Things got a little wild over the weekend, which we'll get into that. I guess a little bit of housekeeping before we get into it. I do want to let you guys, I guess housekeeping in the sense that like letting you guys know what's coming down. I think I might be dialing back these. Just a little, how do I put this? I mean, I like doing these, but at the end of the day, like I still make more money actually doing a job. So, money is tight. So I think I'm probably gonna be picking up an extra shift or two here or there. So that'll probably diminish the amount of morning streams going forward. If you don't like that, I don't know, pay more money. I'm not trying to e-bag, but if this is, at the end of the day, if there is something that you like, you need to be, it needs a financial incentive, because if I'm not using, I don't know, it sounds like money grubbing, but at the end of the day, like if that's what you guys want, you gotta pay for it. It is what it is. You guys may have noticed an increase in ads. I swapped over hosts recently, but that, because of that, I think that they have a different ad thing. So, hey, it is what it is. I think I'm also going to be setting up an RSS feed on my Patreon. I figured out a way to do that. So if you don't like the ads, somewhat soon, I'm going to figure out how to set that up to where I can put like an ad-free RSS feed so you can go there. But I'm just trying to make some money off it, trying to, if I'm going to be doing these, make it worth my time. I enjoy doing them too. So like, it's not like I need a ton. Just to break it down in brass tacks for you guys, I make about, like, doing one of these streams or podcasts or whatever, I probably make about a quarter of what I would do at work. So it's kind of like a, cost benefit. Like, do I pick up a day at work? Because it's like, can I afford that? So it's like I'm making less money, but it's also like, then there's less, I'm able to be at home more often, able to get different things done. So it's a balancing act, and it's pretty damn close. So I'll be straight to you. I'm pretty, so far as the balancing act goes, like, if I don't have to make too much more on this to where I'm like, okay, well, I guess I will, because I also see it somewhat as an investment. But I'm just letting you guys know, probably after the holidays, because next week I'm off like a bunch of days. Although I'm sure we won't do these morning streams on Christmas. So so next week probably, I think it'll literally be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So far as this week, I believe we're doing one today on Monday, which I normally don't. Like, the deal was before was if available, I would like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday was what the morning dumps were going to be basically. But we're going to this week. I just happened to not have any work on Monday, so no Monday. But I picked up work Tuesday, Wednesday, so I won't have Wednesday. I won't be doing a Wednesday stream, but I will do a Thursday one and probably a Friday one unless something opens up. So we'll probably still get the normal 3, or 2 at the very least. So. But yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot from a lot of you guys. You guys do enjoy these. These are just kind of thrown together. Me looking over threads and kind of doing reading. But you guys seem to enjoy it. You seem to like the audience engagement. But yeah, let me run through some of these chats. But just letting you guys know, yeah, once the holidays are over, I think we'll probably be going down to like 1 to 3 a week as opposed to the 3 to 5 we were doing. So. Just giving you an idea of where things are going to be. Unless you want to support, but that's at patreon.com, just NoWayJose2020, or even just something as simple as liking, sharing, subscribing, leaving a 5-star review. These are all things that help. So yeah, I see Nephilim Murder Crew raid the stream. Hell yeah. That will make them better, actually. I don't know what he's talking about here. Good morning from Nephilim Murder Crew. Good morning. Good morning, Abrogate D's. He says, good morning, friends. Redbeard said, good morning, Jose B. Good morning, Tards and Doctore. Good morning from Hey What's Now. Alan's shoveling snow. I'm sorry. I'm over here in sunny Florida. It was not even chilly last night. Let's fucking go. Morning, boys. Good morning, Schizzos. Sounds okay. Yeah, I'm seeing what all's in there. Everyone hit that like button. Nephilim Death Squad. Oh, Nephilim Death Squad in the house. In the hizzy, as they used to say. I feel like such a fucking old man saying that. But yeah, make sure to hit that like button, guys. But yeah, pleasure to be with you guys over the weekend. I guess one little last recap for the week. I think we talked about this. God, I'm having a brain fart or something. I think we talked about this on Friday or Thursday. For some reason, brought up my kid wrestling. I think I mentioned there was a tournament. My kid had a wrestling tournament over the weekend, and it was her first wrestling tournament. Last week I missed Tower Gang because there was like a wrestling thing, but it was like a parents' night or whatever, and that's just where we went to go see her wrestle against her team, and they just kind of like internal team matches, and she won her match then against one of her teammates, who's someone who's been wrestling for a year. She's only been wrestling for a few weeks, and this girl's like a girl who weighs more than her. Then this weekend she had a tournament. So anyways, over Wednesday she won against like someone who has a little bit of experience in her school, one of her teammates. And then over the weekend, there was an actual tournament where they have like a bunch of schools come together. I used to do this when I used to wrestle. It's a lot of fun. I loved wrestling. But it's cool seeing my daughter, my 15-year-old getting into this as a freshman. And it's cool seeing her in the first few weeks do well because what a big deal. What a big deal it is. I see someone say check Rumble rants. Yeah, I do occasionally. I keep an extra window open. I'll check it. Oh, there we go. I was gonna check it, but thanks for looking out. We got 2. We got from Nephilim Death Squad with a $10 donate to make Jose a full-time content creator. Yeah, that's one way you can do as well. I forgot to mention Rumble rants. You guys can do the Rumble rants as well. I do scan those occasionally. StreamYard has not figured out how to seamlessly connect their Rumble rants for some reason, but I just got to keep an eye out on that unless YouTube ever decides to remonetize me, but I'm not holding any hope out for that. But yeah, if you guys do want to make a full-time content creator, yeah, boost this shit, doggy. Give me money. $10 from Eddie Grimm. Here you go, Jose. Thanks, pal. Eddie Grimm's been around for a long time. One of my favorite Avatar photos, Berserk going nuts, or Guts going nuts, not Berserk. Berserk's the name of the manga. But yeah, anyways, it's my Doctori says wrestling is one of, if not the hardest high school sport. Yeah, I played 3 sports during high school. I played football, wrestling, and soccer. Soccer was like the sport I was really, really good at because I've been doing that since I was a little kid. Football, I didn't start until I moved to Tennessee because they didn't have a football team when I lived in Maine. So I did it only for half high school. Same with wrestling. Football and wrestling, I only did half of high school. And wrestling was so I only did 2 years of it. And it was, I wish I had more years of wrestling. And it was my favorite, and it's the most rewarding, and it's the hardest. So it's cool seeing my oldest getting into it. And to see her do well in her first tournament. She did 2-2. And placed 3rd in her weight class, and she had to wrestle up a weight class just because they didn't have enough girls to make a tournament at the smaller weight class because it's girls. There's not a lot of girls wrestlers, but anyways, I'm really proud of my kiddo. It was really cool, and it's also I know how hard it is when you first start because it is you suck, Like, you just suck. Like, no matter who you are, that's like one of the great things about wrestling or martial arts in general. They're really good at humbling you, because like no matter where you come from, like even me in high school, I started junior year, my first year of wrestling, and I was a big buff kid. Like I was big into powerlifting when I was a kid. I had a world record when I was fucking 13, American state records and like all the state records. I was big into working out, stuff like that. And obviously I did like football too, then I had soccer. So I just kind of like, I was very athletic. And so when I remember my junior year going to wrestling and also being an older kid, I was like, I'm going to fucking kick ass. Like, I'm big and buff. And no, martial arts will humble you real quick. Everyone starts from the same, for the most part, from the same spot. I mean, there is athleticism that comes into play. But anyways, point being, it's really cool seeing my daughter starting out and doing well from the jump, because you know how hard it is when you're first starting out, to not be good at something. I mean, most of us have to slog through it, but it's good to see them doing well, but not too good to where she gets cocky. So that's cool. All right, guys, I know that's enough rambling from now. I just want to tell you about my week and tell you what's going on these days. Appreciate all of you guys coming along for the ride. Just to recap, we will probably have another one of the morning streams on Thursday and Friday. Obviously, we have Already Dead tomorrow, Tuesday at 9:30, then obviously Tower Gang on Wednesday for those who enjoy that debauchery. And I'll be recording another paywalled episode on Thursday afternoon, Thursday night. I didn't do one last week because the person rescheduled me last minute. I ended up falling asleep on the couch instead of scheduling someone. My bad. Sorry. I've gone to that point in my life where I do that a lot. But yeah, let's get into some content. We're going to get into some of the BlueBeam shit in a bit. But let's start off with some. Actually, this literally just came up as we were, as I was like hitting live. I saw this come up from Ken Silva. It says, this is I've mentioned this to you guys before. I interviewed a guy who was an FBI operative, kind of essentially an informant. I don't think he liked the term informant because he's like, or not because he believed implied he was like I don't know, like a criminal or something. But no, he was just some civilian guy essentially who was working for the feds for funsies, infiltrating shit. So Ken shared this today. He says, Glady told Jose and I that the FBI helped him get on a roller derby TV program to raise his public profile and boost his cover story. Totally true. This guy is fucking rollerblading fucking fool. That this is real, and the feds helped him so that he could infiltrate extremist groups. And he got the FBI to fund him rollerblading to infiltrate extremist groups. Like, how fucking gnarly is that? Anyways, Glady told us he could skate faster than most people can ride their bikes. Over the weekend, Glady sent me a video promo of one of these events. So for those who've been around, I mean, I feel like everyone will probably get some sort of enjoyment out of this. I haven't watched it yet, so this is my first time watching it. But I'm interested to see what's this likely 90s roller derby stuff that this FBI informant got involved in. So a little bit of a blast from the past. See if this rings a bell, any nostalgia for any of us. Because I don't know, maybe even for me, I might be like, oh yeah, I remember those ads. Because apparently this was a big thing for a while from my recollection. But let's go and play this.
Now, you have heard Hawk refer to wholesome versus gruesome. Nothing could illustrate it more than the differences in the workouts of Tim Washington of the Enforcers and the Gator wrestler David Glady of the Sundogs. Take a look at this.
Meet Big Tim Washington, one of the New York Enforcer bad boys. Washington's a former high school football and track star. He's now into martial arts, bodybuilding, and boxing. At 6'4" and weighing in at a whopping 270 pounds. Washington is one guy you definitely don't want to tick off. Today, Big Tim Washington will be butting heads with Florida Sundog David Gatorboy Glady. These two are as different as night and day and have no love for one another, to say the least. Washington has a reputation as one of the dirtiest skaters in roller jam, while Glady likes to play by the rules. But Glady is no wimp. Hey, this guy got his nickname, Gatorboy, because he gets his kicks by wrestling alligators. Glady's part Blackfoot Indian. Just give him a knife, and he'd have no trouble surviving in the wild. Today we'll see how his country workout routine and his survivalist talents translate onto the track as he goes up against Big Tim Washington and the rest of the New York Enforcers.
Man, that's like the coolest thing ever. All right. especially if you've been around the show for a while. If you watch that interview, that is something. A little bit of an insight into the character that is David Coletti, which, I mean, as much as this show is like, parapolitics, we don't really care for the feds. I don't know. That interview, it's like, man, that interview with Galletti was something special. Like, you just do realize he's just a good old boy. He was just looking for some fun. That's really all. He was just a good old boy that fucking got the Fed money to have a good old time, is really the impression I got. And it's really hard to be mad at him for it. You're like, that's pretty funny. I will admit it was a little bit terrifying when in our interview he brought up casually about how, like, I don't know if he was saying that he still does or he did in the past, would work for institutions where they would essentially look for blackmail or ways to essentially blackmail. He was saying that, like, I forget the specifics of it, about something about that he would make sites about certain people, like if a company wanted to fire them or something, would make sites about them implying that they were like PDFs. You guys know what I mean when I say that. And then later be like, go to the company, be like, look at this site saying that they're this. And you're like, isn't this, you guys should totally fire this guy. And they're like, yeah, you're right, we should fire him. And you're like, but like literally, like, he's the one who made the evidence. So that one was, remember when he brought that up, that felt like a veiled threat. And I was like, what are you getting at here? That's terrifying. But aside from that, yeah, it was kind of hard to be upset with him. I'm popping through these. It's great because your weight is on you and referring to wrestling. But overall, it's a team sport. Yeah, it's great because it's fun. There's a camaraderie. You work with each other, help each other get better. But at the end of the day, it's on you. So, there's no, I know, which that was kind of annoying with some of the team sports, especially with me with soccer, because I went from when I was in Maine, the team I was on was like a state championship, like winning. Like my freshman year we won state. My sophomore year we I think we're runners up or something, or like one game away from being able to play for runners up. I forget. We were really close to winning my sophomore year. So really, really good team. And even then at that point I was like, as a sophomore I was starting. So I was like a starter on like part of a really good team, but I wasn't like anybody who was like the team. I was just a good player on a really good team, just a key player, key part of the team. And then I went from that to Tennessee, and they sucked. And I went from being the like part of a good team to the team. So it's very different. So that's a lot more. It was cool. I got a lot more like moments where I got to do cool stuff and be like the hero. But it was really fucking also frustrating. We were like, I don't know, I'd actually like to be able to go far. And I can't do it all by myself. And whereas something like wrestling, you literally can do it all yourself. You have no one to blame but yourself. So then we have Redbeard saying, wait, shit, you're from Maine? Yes, I am originally from Maine. Yep, I'm originally from like the Bangor area, essentially. Yeah. And I moved like halfway during high school. I was the retard that was stoned 24/7 in high school. I also was the retard who was stoned 24/7, at least like senior year, but I did both. I was like the retard jock, scholar as well. I don't know. I was a very complicated character. I got all A's and B's, and then, I was also always working out, but I also was really into drugs and stuff in high school too. It's weird, which is how I got away with it. Cause like none of the teachers, no one suspected me. Cause I was the kid who was like, played all the sports and also got really good grades, so no one thought anything of it. But yeah, someone's saying if they sit on the couch, there's a good chance they fall asleep. Yeah, I did it again last night. I tried to watch that the Dune show, which I've been enjoying moderately. Passed out. So people talking about the interview being nuts. Yeah, the fruit booting on the government dime. Yes, he was having a blasty blast. The 90s were something special. All right, now let's get into a little bit more bummer of news. Where the fuck is this thing? Boom. Sorry, I'm still figuring out how to use these stupid fucking. Oh, here we go. This doesn't like present these in an order that makes sense when I'm looking for them to find them to present them. Sorry, guys. I will get better at this as we go. From Kyle Anzalone, Netanyahu says. He had friendly conversation with Trump about achieving victory against Iran. From Dave DeCamp. Oh, okay. Well, never mind. For some reason, I thought this was a Kyle Anzalone piece because he tweeted it. But no, this is a Dave DeCamp piece, which, we talked about last episode. I cannot recommend his anti-war show enough. Anti-war news with Dave DeCamp. Recommend that. Obviously, antiwar.com is great too. You can go see the headlines. But the great thing about his news show is every day he does like a 30-minute show where he just basically kind of reads the headlines and maybe like a first couple paragraphs or so of whatever the key elements are of different stories, or at least the top stories. So you can kind of get a daily quick fix of what's going on in the world if that's something you want to keep up with, or pop in occasionally when something big happens. But it's a great source of news. I can't recommend it highly enough. But either way, this is from Dave to Camp. Says, on Sunday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that he spoke with President-elect Donald Trump about Israel's need to achieve victory against Iran and its allies in the region. I unequivocally declare to Hezbollah and to Iran, in order to prevent you from attacking us, we will continue to take action against you as necessary in every arena at all times. To Hezbollah and to Iran, in order to prevent you from attacking us, we will continue to take action against you as necessary in every arena and at all times. So, like the preamble of that, in order to prevent you from attacking us, just presumes that you will always be trying to attack us, essentially. I mean, obviously I'm assuming maybe a translation, or maybe not. There's a lot of times Netanyahu talks in English, so this could have been an English speech. I'm not sure. On Sunday, Israeli, who was he talking to? I mean, I guess it depends who he's talking to here. Either way, I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to understand this as anything other than just like, we're going to attack you no matter what you're doing. Because that's kind of what this sounds like to me. Like, I unequivocally declare to Hezbollah and to Iran, in order to prevent you from attacking us, we will continue to take action against you as necessary. As necessary is obviously completely up to them. I just feel like the framing of this single sentence sounds like it's implying that, like, we're attacking you no matter what. There's nothing you can do about it. Because it's assumed that you're going to be attacking us. Because, we will continue to take action against you in every arena at all times. I discussed this, all of this last night with my friend, U.S. presidential-elect Donald Trump. We had a very friendly, warm, and important discussion. We discussed the need to complete Israel's victory, and we spoke at length about the efforts we are making to free our hostages. Okay, a victory against Iran. Okay, I will say that maybe there is a way to understand this is not necessarily meaning that they're going to completely, do some sort of regime change in Iran, although I believe it kind of implies, because it says achieving victory against Iran, whereas his statement actually says we discussed the need to complete Israel's victory. I will say that one line I read a couple times did seem to imply to me it's kind of like we're going to just keep going no matter what, is what it sounds like to me, because it's almost like the same idea as like them taking over the buffer zone in Syria. It's kind of like, well, if we don't steal it, somebody else will, and then probably, or you guys will be here and shoot at us. So it's like we had to steal it. Same idea, basically, is what it sounds like to me. Like, well, we got to attack you because otherwise you're going to attack us. I mean, that just seems to be like where we're at now, and that's going to be the, what continues to happen here. I mean, I really will be, at this point, I guess I'm a little bit kind of black-pilled. I mean, the Syria thing really did change. I mean, not overall black-pilled. I mean, I'm never overall black-pilled, but so far as, like, Middle East stuff, I mean, man, I'm kind of, like, after the Syria stuff, like, I do think Iran's probably cooked. They're probably donezo for the next, like, probably 5 years, if I had to guess. Although I might be wrong. I'm by no means some sort of international expert. I just feel like this is we're going to keep backing them, and we're going to lose. I think we're going to lose some stuff in the process. We're going to lose bargaining. But so far as the global hegemony of Israel, I think they're going to keep killing it. But now, so far as their satellite state, United States, now what does this make for us 10 years down the road where we've backed Israel at every turn here, essentially creating a moral hazard to where the problem here is we don't even necessarily have to get involved in this. We literally just have to stand by, and essentially we act as this buffer that prevents Israel from taking any sort of actual real extreme damage, because all of these their enemies are concerned that if they attack Israel too much, that we'll get involved. So that's the moral hazard that they've been dealing with. And it's kind of part of how they've been able to tactfully do all the shit they've done so far and pull all this flagrant shit, because they're kind of just habitually line stepping just enough to where it's like they, it doesn't completely merit from other countries being attacked by the United States to them. So I don't know. I think they pulled off some master chess shit with the Syria stuff, and I really think it was a game changer. All right, let me just check in on the chat. check in on you guys. We have Netanyahu is pure evil. I was the most well-behaved kid in alternate school. Pardon my tardiness. It's okay. You can show up late. Emily, what's up, Tyler? What is up, guys? All right, let's keep it moving. Let's get on into... just another one pop in. Yeah, I just wonder what the blowback is going to be to us. Yeah, I just feel like we're going to lose... I mean, I don't know how long our dollar will hold up, although I guess in a certain sense, these games, these power games really do affect the dollar as well. So I don't know. It's really kind of hard to predict how this works. At the very least, I think we're like undermining credibility with other states in the sense that the fact, I don't know, politically speaking, it might affect us, in like diplomacy, in the idea of that now we're not going to be able to really work with other entities in the future. So I don't know. We got Q-Birdamo, yellow, dude. What's up? All right, guys, let's get into a little bit of Luigi news. Everyone's favorite little muscle twink. Let's get over to him. Let's see. I think this probably, if I had to guess, maybe the last we cover him for a little while at least. And as such, I figured probably a good spot to kind of put maybe a little button on it, because I just feel like we're at a spot where it might be a little bit before anything comes out. Unless, I mean, we're at this weird hinge point where he could either be off himself soon or something like that. But otherwise, I think we're just waiting for new news to come out when finally he's able to talk to somebody or information is able to get out from his lawyer or whatever. It's just gonna be a slow drip, I think, after this. But Parapower Mapping did a good big breakdown, kind of like all the weird stuff in it, and I think that might be a good place to put a button on it. So thank you, Kalani Big Gosh, for putting this stuff out here. It gives us you're doing a really good job covering this, and you're helping us out. Staying abreast of the information. So, give him a follow. But here are some of the reasons why I increasingly suspect Luigi Mangione could be a patsy or brain-controlled shooter. To be clear, I support the exec death care movement, but the narrative just doesn't add up. Like this is, I've mentioned before, he's clearly a little bit like he's a lefty. I believe he's even said he studied commie or something, or Marxist. Whatever. I mean, it's par for the course in the parapolitics world. You guys know my take, but so far as this stuff, he's been fucking cooking with fire lately. Luigi complains of extreme sleeplessness and brain fog while studying computer science at UPenn, an Ivy League company feeder with upwards of 4 different fellowship and research programs at the CIA. Moves into a Hawaiian intentional community run by a Kinsey-loving academic and a globe-trotting Fulbright scholar in 22, where he's introduced the Unabomber's Manifesto despite displaying turbo normie reading taste prior to then. Yeah, it is weird that that was like the one, like if you looked at their reading list of stuff they talked to, were reading, and the stuff that Mangione tend to read, it was kind of like boring stuff, and then just boom, Unabomber. Which, I mean, the guy said in some interview that he's like, I listen to different takes and stuff, and I'm someone who's read the manifesto, and I think it has there's a lot to be gleaned from it, but it is just weird because on the flip side, if you are looking fed, like, is this clearly some sort of way to document? Oh, look, this guy was reading the Unabomber's Manifesto, and now you have like a ledger of like, look at this extremist activity of this guy after the fact. Maybe. I don't know, because now we have this guy coming out now. It's like, oh, well, we read the Unabomber's Manifesto, and then after that, then kind of like, well, but we like to we like to hear different takes. But it's like, but what all that the normies hear from that is, oh my God, he read the Unabomber's Manifesto. So I don't know, definitely weird. Or I mean, maybe they just read it. I mean, it is a good book. So decides to finally undergo spinal fusion surgery for his spondylolisthesis, a slipped disc. Last summer, the surgery is supposedly a rousing success, and he comes out of it proselytizing to back pain Redditors that they should surgeon shop. Not many, if any, instances of health insurance critiques found. He's reportedly not insured by UHC, which this contributes even more to like where I've said before, it just doesn't make sense. This kid was supposedly came from big money, like even that alone. But now that you add that like he wasn't insured by UHC, which whatever, I guess you can write that off as UHC is the biggest insurer. So then you go like, well, if he's just trying to have a symbolic thing, it's not like personal to him and per se that it would make sense to go for like the biggest healthcare insurance. But I don't know. He's had no problem. Like this whole like back pain thing that people bring up. It has nothing. It seems to have nothing to do with it. He seems to have liked how it came. The results is what he said. He's never really complained about it elsewhere. So I mean, I've heard some of the places I read they talked about some family member, but even then, it's like coming from a family of money, big money, which we've gone to that. It's kind of like, well, they just let their fucking, family members suffer in poverty. I struggle to believe that when they're dealing with health issues, but I don't know. Sometime this spring or last winter, Luigi embarks on a massive 2-month backpacking trip across Asia. So this is where I got confused before, because I remember people have said that like, oh, he disappeared right before, and then I believe me and maybe others would then conflate it with the Hawaii thing. The Hawaii thing was like in 2022, so it was a couple years ago. But then right before all this, he disappears to Asia, I guess, for a backpacking trip. Weird. And he says, Oswald in Russia, anyone? Yeah. This February, United Health suffers the largest data breach in American history, with the personal info of over 100 million people stolen. Around the same time, Nancy Pelosi purchases stocks in the cybersecurity company UHC, hired to investigate the hack on 2 occasions. One of the boys on the very same day as the hack. Despite initial dip, the stock has since rallied. Also should be noted, Brian Thompson is named in a firefighter's pension fund lawsuit alleging insider trading for dumping 50 million stocks before a DOJ probe against UHC was announced. Upon his return to the States, Luigi abruptly and without warning goes dark, cutting off all contact with his family and childhood friends from prestigious Gilman Academy. A slight tangent, but Gilman appears to have ignored or even protected numerous PDF faculty, including an egregious case where a student or a teacher was convicted of 9 counts last year, a teacher who was employed during Luigi's time at the K through 12 boys school. Yeah, I actually just came across that today. I don't know how that one slipped my eye through all of this, because I mean, we've covered this like last week. I believe we did like every damn day we covered what the newest was, and somehow this slipped my radar. I thought I'd seen something before, but then it was gone. Everything disappears unless you bookmark it real quick on Twitter. But I do remember seeing, something along the lines of, there being some sort of PDF activity at the school he was at. And if you look at the timing of it, it seems to line up around the time that Luigi was there. I mean, so weird, for sure. During Luigi's AWOL period, the only people in his life he appears to be communicating with are sus RJ from Surf Break, who turned him on to Ted K, or else a British tech writer on Twitter, whom Luigi tries to convince to schedule group video calls for his Substack subscribers so Luigi can recruit them for a rationalist, stoic, and effective altruist group he plans to organize. Seems a little weird to me, he says. Does seem a little bit weird to me, although, I don't know. I mean, that's just philosophical stuff. Rationalists, Stoics. I mean, I like Stoicism. It's pretty good. I mean, it's a little, kind of outdated in some ways, but kind of a good way to look at life, in my opinion. But, so I don't know. Maybe nothing there. He seems like a guy who could be into philosophy. But anyway, so Luigi is DMing complete strangers, but can't take the time to answer one of the plaintive messages from his family or a high school buddy whose wedding he'd committed to be a groomsman at. In September, Luigi removes his number from a WhatsApp group for Penn alumni in Hawaii, breaking ties and isolating himself further. Alternatively, this could mean he may be construed as a kind of scrubbing of digital comms evidence. October 1st, a Gilman classmate receives a message asking if he'd heard from Luigi. In Baltimore and around the country, concerned loved ones in the Mangione clan continue their frantic search for Luigi, from whom there's only radio silence. November 18th, Luigi's mother files a missing persons report with the SFPD a day after the Brian Thompson clipping. The SFPD notifies the FBI of Luigi's identity, hinting at clear contradictions in the official law enforcement narrative. Zionist NYPD Intelligence Director Jessica Tisch maintains that they were kept in the dark. Conflicting narratives from law enforcement and the feds are the sequence leading up to this, his apprehension at Mickey D's, that could either point at parallel constructions to obscure face recognition surveillance tech, or else compartmentalize sloppiness born of a need-to-know cover-up of a Pepsi frame-up job. To be continued, ? Which it is. which I believe I saw somewhere in one of the articles I read that the Mickey D's people weren't saying anything about anything essentially about this. And then I swear I saw something about like they weren't allowed to or something, which seems bullshit to me. I mean, they may have been asked by law enforcement not to, and that's their right not to, I guess. But so yeah, bizarre. So I know there's like a rumor going around that maybe it was some sort of recognition surveillance tech that they used, and that's why they don't want to really talk about it, because it is bizarre that based off the really shitty, just like sort of face photo that we got, that someone states over would be able to recognize him at a McDonald's. Like, I mean, come on. I wouldn't have. All right. And he says, ran out of character space. Failed to mention that his family are closely tied to Nancy Pelosi's maternal side by way of Luigi's grandpa, Italian real estate DEV, Nicholas Mangione, who was appointed to a Baltimore school board despite community protests by Pelosi's brother, the mayor Thomas D'Alessandro. I haven't touched on some of the forensic head scratchers, the seeming physiognomy discrepancies with the surveillance, the various surveillance footage. He says, which I'm not necessarily wedded to, as I feel like there could be mundane lighting and pixelation explanations, which that's kind of where I'm at too. I've thought the pictures looked weird. I struggled to believe these were the same. It is weird to which the degree to which people's certainty, and then using the photo as like a, pointing to it, be like, oh, like for example, as I just mentioned with the McDonald's people, identifying on the photo, that seems ridiculous. But so far as the differences, I mean, it's kind of like it could just be lighting, pixelation. So it's kind of, I know a lot of people are pointing to the eyebrows and stuff. I don't fucking know. All right, the mysterious tipster, or the inscrutability of Luigi's decision to bring his ghost gun, fake IDs, and thousands of casts he disputed into the McDonald's in Altoona. So yeah, that's weird. We've brought that up before. There is a seeming inconsistency of a multimillionaire, purportedly ideological killer who supposedly decided to murk a farm boy class trader from Iowa to make a larger point about the inhumane profiteering of the health insurance industry, only to plead not guilty to the charges after his arrest, which, if he's a vigilante that he's been portrayed as, you'd kind of assume he went into this anticipating the possibility of having the book thrown at him and life in prison. On top of this, in an Oswald-esque fashion, he shouts defiant lines, completely out of touch, and an insult to the intelligence of the American people during his perp walk that could easily be interpreted as him trying to bring attention to a concerted cover-up and his scapegoating. And then we have his appointment to lead his defense in New York, which, let me see, I think I have it up already. I actually had it up in a different tab right here. It said the lawyers for Diddy and Luigi Mangione are married. And it says you can't make this stuff up. So that one's, there you go. Yep. From the New York Post, United Healthcare CEO, killing suspect Luigi Mangione and Sean Diddy Combs' lawyers are married. So weird how that works. I mean, I don't know what that means. Maybe that means nothing. I find it a little fishy. Which brings us to the coincidental timing of Pelosi's tumble down a set of marble stairs in Luxembourg yesterday. The below post is mostly facetious, of course, but she succumbs to a cracked hip and replacement surgery. It'll be a hard ass not to wonder if they could be related, which this ties into I haven't really gone into that. I know there's a lot of people that are making claims based on, I guess, some of Pelosi's trade or stock activity or something, that they think there's a connection there. I mean, you add in the fact that this guy's grandpa was buddies, I guess, with Pelosi's dad or something like that. I mean, it's. I mean, I don't know. It's not outside the realm of possibilities, I guess, that somehow this is connected. That she had inside information about the UHCCO being taken out for whatever reason. It was more than just a ideological slaying. But yeah, I mean, she did have a tumble recently, so people were connecting that to it as well. But I've kind of strayed away from that just because it's like, I don't know. I mean, I know the stock stuff can be pretty damning. I'm just too not in the weeds of that stuff to really be able to look at that information and have any sort of like, oh my God. But for the most part, I'll just take people's word for it to some extent, and to the degree that I really have confidence in those sort of analyses. But like, it's never going to be something that I like slam on the table, because I just don't really know enough about it. I mean, definitely is fishy, I guess. Maybe if I really got into stocks or the ins and outs of that, I really would be like, oh my God, but I haven't. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there are people who have been covering it from this angle that really, what they have to say, how damning this is, but I just haven't really looked into it. And then Okay, let's add this to the mix. Apple's AI apparently incorrectly synopsized a BBC story and blasted off a news bulletin to thousands, claiming Luigi offed himself. Reminded the BBC reported that World Trade Center 7 had collapsed a good 30 minutes or more before it had fallen on 9/11. So yeah, I guess they're saying it was a AI issue, but let me see what was claimed. Here's error in BBC reporting doesn't mean 9/11 was script. Oh, never mind. It's about 9/11. So let me see. Oh, he quote tweeted this. Is apparently so effing insane. Apparently, Apple's news AI, funnily having dubbed Apple Intel, sent push notifications to thousands, perhaps even millions of people with synopsis of a BBC article incorrectly claiming that Luigi Mangione himself. Okay, so push notifications to thousands, perhaps even millions of a synopsis of a BBC article. So they got the synopsis wrong, is what they're saying. But the BBC did not report. So I guess the issue would be like, was it really the synopsis wrong? Was it really an AI? I don't know. Does the AI know more information? Where is the AI pulling that information from? Are they pulling this information from somewhere that, like, say you forgot to delete a file somewhere and that they're pulling that information from there because you had a story written up already? I don't know the ins and outs of how these work. So definitely find it bizarre, though, for sure. Let me see. There's one thing else, thing I want to go into. Oh, crap. Here we go. Did we? Oh, and he says, per one of Surf Break spokesman people, Jose Ryan, Luigi Mangione's brain fog complaints even came up during his interview and background check, and apparently Luigi wanted to move to Hawaii in hopes it would remedy it. So the symptoms were still troubling him as early as 22. So this brain fog thing, which I don't know where the first time, I don't know why I said fag, but I don't know when the first time the brain fog came up. Let me scan this real quick. Brain fog, see if it's mentioned in here anywhere. Trying to figure out when the last time they were seeing brain fog. Earlier while in college, Mangione posted on Reddit about experiencing severe brain fog and restless sleep. So that's okay. So that was in, I would guess, around earlier while in college. It says, and then it says in a July 2018 post. So I would say roughly in that realm. So the 2022 was the latest. So as late as, so it sounds like almost a 4-year period of brain fog issues. So okay, that's weird. Okay, all right, yeah, that's definitely something. All right, let's pop back in the chat, see what you guys would say. Let me look. Actually, let me pop into. Okay, I had to look at it. I had to pop over and look at Rumble real quick. All right, pop back over to y'all. Let me see. Lots of good mornings. Hell yeah, good morning. Good morning, Bobo. Morning, Hose Gay. Good morning, Scott is here. Effective altruism, the movement is an MI6 front recruiting. Okay. That I feel like I'd heard effective altruism somewhere before. So a front for recruiting. It was weird. The egoist and it was stoicism and something else too. So it sounded like a philosophy thing to me. So okay. Then according to Doctore, the Center for Effective Altruism, CEA, what a weird 3 letters. That reminds me of something else, is an Oxford-based organization founded in 2012 by William Maskill and Toby Ord. Oxford is a well-known recruiting ground for MI6. All right. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I mean, I thought something seemed weird about that group. So this guy so we talked about this a little bit ago, I believe if I recall correctly. This was the group he was trying to email people, trying to get members for the group is what it sounded like. He was almost cold calling. I guess not really cold calling, but cold emailing or whatever. Yeah, bottom line is all Iran's fault. Yeah, I think Iran is really behind the CEO shooting. Yeah. Well, we mentioned a minute ago how we got this right here. I figure this makes a good little segue from one to the other. Luigi Mangione and Sean Diddy's sharing the same lawyers. And oh crap, here we go. One of you guys shared this to me. This is about a 2-minute video. It says Daniel Baldwin, brother of Alec Baldwin, has reportedly claimed that former Hollywood agents and current attorneys informed of an ongoing bidding war over alleged tapes linked to Diddy. According to Baldwin, these tapes are being sold to Hollywood elites implicated in crimes against women and children, allowing them to protect themselves from potential jail time. He compares the Diddy situation to Jeffrey Epstein and says recordings of politicians exist and that Epstein might still be alive and living in another country. Now, I'll tell you what, I don't really have a strong opinion about all the different Baldwins, but I mean, these are like, this is, I don't know what their parents did, but they strike me as someone who's probably old money, and if not, they just lucked up and all of their family somehow have been in show business. So it is yeah, I just get the feeling that this is the guy, one of the guys who would know. But on the flip side, he's also one of the guys that, if they wanted someone to feed disinformation, would be completely a legitimate vector for that as well. So keep that in mind. But either way, I don't know. It's interesting, and it strikes me as something to comport to reality and worth at least paying attention to. Now, maybe I'm not saying you should buy it, but at least pay attention. All right, let's play it.
Look at Diddy, for instance. Let's take a look at him. Let's take a look at, he has videos. He has videos of the parties. Now, what I've heard, which I don't know how much of it is in mainstream media, I don't really follow the story that much, but what I've heard from friends that are attorneys, friends of mine that have represented me before, agents and so on, is there's a bidding war going on right now. They're driving that price up because if you want your client and your famous actor to not be involved, or famous singer to not come out, here's the price. And that they're just selling to the individuals that are in those, this is what I heard. They're selling those videos. So if you're Tommy X, and Tommy X is a big, big movie star, and he was at some of the Diddy parties, he was in one of those bedrooms with 3 other men, and he's happily married to a woman, and blah. Tommy doesn't want that video to come out. He does not want it to come out. Same thing for Jeffrey Epstein. Now, the interesting thing about the Epstein and the theory about Epstein is we know he filmed people for sure on that island. He has a lot of movies, a lot of films of people that are very, very...
By the way, just to clarify, I don't know, I think I might have read it wrong, or maybe I understood it wrong. This is Daniel Baldwin, brother of Alec Baldwin. For some reason, I skimmed it real quick, and in my head I thought, so I don't know what I said to you guys, but it's Daniel Baldwin, not Alec. I don't know if what level of fame Daniel had. Name doesn't ring a bell. I know all the brothers kind of got into it somewhat. They all kind of look alike to me, to be honest. But yeah, all right. I did see real quick. I see Soul Explorer coaching saying Stephen Baldwin is the only Baldwin that can be trusted. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know who's to be trusted in the group, but let's keep going.
Very powerful political figures, and entertainers, business people. So, do you really believe that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself? Of
course not.
Of course not. Yeah. No. Okay, so there's other theories that he's in Lebanon. He never died at all. That having the weight of owning those films right now over people. So, will Donald Trump release those films? I believe Donald Trump probably has a lot of friends that are in those videos too. I don't know if it behooves him to release them either. But what happens if iconic African Americans or iconic Japanese Americans or iconic Anglo Americans, former presidents, so what happens if they're in those videos? What does that do to the herding of the sheep? Because I believe that's exactly what we're experiencing.
It's an interesting little point there at the end, kind of like, how does this play out? Is this going to be a controlled drop? Are there players that go, fine, we'll start giving these people what they want. We'll start taking down some of these blackmail networks, but know what we're going to do? We're going to control the drip. We're going to be the ones who decide what information gets dropped. Who do we feel like of these people we can, drop incriminating information and not come back on us? Like little drops here and there, little implications. Now how deep does this go? Do they go, oh well, because you brought up a good point, like somebody like can you play culture war games almost with this? All sorts of games, to where you say, hey, this prominent LGBTQ icon or whatever, and then now you just get to create this. It's kind of the dialectic effect of like, well, then now we drop this. Now what's the obvious, other side of this story? Like, how do we play off of this? So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if there could be some big mind fuck to where they allow us to think that we're getting truth drops when in reality we're just getting a contrived culture war foisted upon us. By whatever things they drop, whatever, cultural issues or whatever they're trying to heat up, they drop someone related to that or this given issue or that issue and then create some sort of other counter story to stoke the flame. I don't know. It's hard to tell to what extent these people play these games. All right, I got this one and two. This one's one I've had in here for a while. I believe these are both ones that were shared by one of you guys. The last one was, I believe, shared by Rage Child. Appreciate that. But this one I've had saved. Maybe I saved it on my own. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But point being is, I do appreciate you guys when you guys tag me and stuff. It does help. I use you guys' content a lot. I try to remember when it's you guys that are why we're covering it, just to let you guys know to what extent you guys are creating the content. But either way, we have this is an old video or an older video, maybe like a few weeks ago. Point being is, it's not like new. But this is MIA, which I will just give a kind of a little bit of a caveat before this. I watched her. I haven't seen her on much. I think she went on Shane's show, Shane Cashman. Great, love that guy. But he, I don't know if I watched that one, or maybe it was the Culture War. Either way, I don't know. I think it might have been Tim's Culture War thing. So maybe I didn't watch it. No, I didn't know. I know I didn't watch whatever one that was, but I've also seen her. I saw her on Candace, and I will give it. She does kind of seem a little woo woo, a little bit crazy, a little bit out there. Seems like a nice lady though. So she could just be batshit off a rocker. Or, I mean, this also could be a product of what I'm about to read and, what I'm about to play here, that maybe this is part of why she's like that. I mean, it's like you look at the Franklin scandal and how they used how awful the victims were. They were drug addicts or crazy people or had legal problems. And look at these people, look how not credible they are. When in reality, it's like, well, they're like that because they were fucked with hardcore when they were young. Like, they were part of a fucking trafficking network. By the elites. So it's like, yeah, what kind of people do you think that survive that? What do you think they're going to be like after? All right, anyways, singer MIA has made new claims against Jay-Z and Beyonce, accusing them of pressuring her to undergo plastic surgery and participate in satanic rituals to boost her career. According to MIA, these rituals included drenching herself in blood, covering herself in black goo, or wearing devil horns, all in the name of selling records. Declaring she's had enough, MIA warns, "I'm coming for everyone now." So let's play this little video, see what she has to say. But I'm just going to warn you, this could be complete bullshit, but I think it's worthwhile. She is someone of the industry. She's had a few bangers, a few hits that have made it to the radio. So she's kind of one of these people who does cut it up in these or groups or would be bumping elbows with them. So it's worthwhile.
I met Jay-Z and I signed to Rock Nation. The first thing he told me to do is get plastic surgery. I'm not insecure because I would have got plastic surgery. People make it, they all can turn around and thank Beyonce because that's it. And enough is enough. I'm fucking coming for everyone now. And even Adele, because she's retired now, but her career would not exist if I hadn't made Jonathan Dickens into a manager. And it, when she gets an award, she thanks Beyonce. So I didn't want to drip myself in blood and cover myself and swim in goop, in black goop, and fucking wear devil horns to fucking sell a record. Fuck that. Or be a witch, or be that, all of that.
All right, I mean, it does sound like crazy shit, I will admit, but it could be something. Could be something. I don't know. I mean, I maybe I'm just sexist deep down inside, but I do struggle to. I see these things, especially where these women are kind of kooky, and it's like, is this just a woman scorned? Just some woo-woo broad scorned? Is that what this is? I don't know. I mean, I will say I am kind of biased to think that the claims she's made may have truth to them, but it's just like, I don't fucking know. All right, let's pop back in on the chat. Daniel was Fat Baldwin. I don't know. Stephen Baldwin is the only Baldwin. Okay, we're having a Baldwin argument in the chat. Which Baldwin brother you prefer? I don't even know how many of them there are. Of all the Epstein places to go to, Lebanon. Let me see. I think the MIA had a banger song about why we shouldn't have borders. I don't remember that one. Horrible concept, but good song. I don't care about the Diddy parties at all. I want the Epstein clients in jail. I don't know if I'd say I don't care. I think there's a lot going on there, and I just think that there might be some hazard to the fact that it is kind of like a controlled drip, likely. That may be the case. I don't know what people have this information, but likely the movers and shakers of the world that don't like us very much. Franklin Credit Union laundered cocaine money coming out of Mena, Arkansas, too. That makes sense. I feel like they burned Diddy to keep the newly woken tards and schizzos locked into Hollywood like a real-time reality TV show. Yes, in which I've mentioned before, there's like a lot of like salaciousness here that doesn't really actually fucking matter. Like, so just smut. But I do think also the problem with this one is, though, there also is actual legit stuff there. I think if you do follow, like, especially if you go above Diddy, when you start looking at that, you're like, oh, whoa, I see what's going on here. So I do think it's like an op, but the problem is I think we're going to get all fucking blinded by the fucking, the flash and pizzazz. I want them to make deals and sell out whoever's higher in the food chain, just so we know who/what is higher in the food chain. I doubt that's going to work like that. Corbeau sounds like Boys on Tracks connection. Yeah, I need to cover that on the show. Maybe after we finish our, God, I'm such a brain fart right now. After we finish our Dutroux reading, which we're going to get to in either a little bit. But maybe once we finish our Dutroux reading, maybe we can get into a Boys on Track piece or something. Maybe she's crazy. Maybe she's telling the truth. Either way, Paper Planes is a banger. Paper Planes is a banger. Also, see, Eddie Graham agrees. Paper Planes is a banger. Paper Planes is a banger for sure. Then we got, I want to know if Anarchan Space Lizard Nazis behind the Zionist blackmail. Right? The Anarcha one's is a rabbit hole that you really get into, and you're like, holy shit, what is going on here? Is there real shit going on in Anarcha? All right, guys, BlueBeam has gone fucking presidential. Here we go. We have Donald Trump, the real Donald Trump, is sharing what looks like a Grok-generated image, which is what Twitter's AI. Which I've used that. I don't know if I've been using that for the thumbnails for this. So I don't know if you guys dig that. I've just found like a good prompt and just kind of keep reusing it. It's just kind of handy. I think it's cool. I think it's nifty. It's a nice little tool for us to use. I mean, they're probably taking all our information and take over the world eventually, but whatever. I'll make cool thumbnails in the meantime. But here's a funny drone of he's saying the drones are like implying the drones are just bringing Christie his fucking McDonald's, and that's what it is. We for those who aren't aware, here's another less jokey one. Here's from Raven, the buddy Raven. He says the gift that keeps on giving, which they've been covering. They've been covering BlueBeam before I did. I was not really that super interested in it. I think part of the problem of the story is it's kind of I think there's an op here, and I think to even some extent Raven probably agrees with me here, and I think part of the op is your attention, but it is like hard. It's like a balancing act. At what point do I go like I kind of gotta? Like, would I just not say anything? Like, I mean, for one, it's fucking interesting. I'm sorry. Good job, Feds. You interested me. And there might be some truth to it. But either way, Donald Trump here, mystery drone sightings all over the country. Can this really be happening without our government's knowledge? I don't think so. Let the public know, and now. Otherwise, shut them down. DJT. So that's where we've gone to. I think Raven and Top simultaneously came super hard when they saw this, and now it's gotten to presidential level. So here's another one from Stephen Horn. Check him out. He's read a lot of good stuff on J6. He's one that actually, the journalist who was attacked for J6. Stephen Horn at Stephen E. Horn, independent journalist, published J6 documentary. Go check him out. But he said, once when I was reporting an anti-CIA rally federal courthouse, my Google Pixel dropped from 20 to 30% battery straight to auto power off. Not sure what level of technology it works at, but I do believe the feds have the capability to remotely drain battery drive devices. Because we talked about this, I believe, last episode, last morning dump, about how there have been reports that supposedly these drones are messing with battery. Whether they're drones at all, I don't know to what extent, what truth is. I think there are drones of some sort, but I also think a lot of this is blown out of proportion. All right, what else we got? We got one more thing to get into. I wanted to make fun of James Lindsay today, but I think maybe we'll come back to that next time, because Mises Caucus did a thread of like just kind of I don't know, he's just continually devolving in being ridiculous. For example, he recently tweeted out something. It was like a government critical theorist, because he's on this whole roll about how we're about like a lot of us libertarian types are actually just like the Marxists. And then he's like the things he points to is like the similarities between theory, and you're like, and then like he's using the fact that we have a critical theory or essentially a race or a class theory. Essentially, the fact that there's a class theory, I believe, is essentially what he's coming down to. Which I'm not trying to get sucked into this topic, or that's not what we're going to. Maybe we'll cover this on Thursday. But anyways, this is just one little example. He's just been spiraling, looking ridiculous with his whole woke right thing. He's trying to make connections where there aren't any. Like as I was saying, he's like using the fact that libertarians and Marxists both have a class theory. It's like, okay, but like pretty much most. I don't know. I don't know what you'd say. I guess most labels of any kind would have to have some sort of class theory. All that is a friend-enemy distinction, really. That's all it is. It's like how you decide what's the good and bad. And when it comes to libertarians, just the predator and the producer classes. That's really what it comes down to. That's a simple way to break it down. Obviously, there's shades of gray in there, but yeah, I mean, it makes sense that like, yeah, we're against people stealing from us, and it's like essentially the idea that like, oh, these theories obsessed with oppressor and oppressed, and you're like, okay, but like I don't, what do you just like have nothing you're against? That makes sense. So like, because that's all it comes down to. What is your belief system against, and what is your belief system for? And if you have something you're against and something you're for, and then you have people that are against things and people are for those things in the world, ta-da, you have a fucking class theory. It's just nonsensical to me. Anyways, which I kind of made fun of in a tweet. Well, maybe we'll go into this on Thursday. Not trying to get sidetracked. I wanted to just get into this. We'll finish off on a little bow before we get into reading, continue our Dutroux reading. But this is from Dissident Media. I quote tweet. It says, Operation BlueBeam, just an op to get some drone laws passed. If so, lame. I was promised aliens. But here is a tweet from Dissident Media. They did a thread. Said local and state officials are urging the federal government to take action regarding drone sightings, but there's already a bill in the works. Don't you worry. H.R. 5009 with a Senate amendment under consideration as of 12/7, and it's not about helping the states. Let's take a closer look. And then here's a photo of the actual amendment, essentially the bill. The bill is seen as a swipe at citizens with drones, especially since it targets DJI Technologies, which holds 70% of the consumer market. Whether or not DJI is an actual threat, any action against them will impact the public's ability to fly drones. In 2025, the DoD must conduct a large-scale exercise to test responses to UA threats. It will include high and low-end drone threats, varied installation capabilities, and rules of engagement testing. They are clear that there will be no notice simulations. Okay, well, oof. Okay, well, it sounds to me like you're saying next year the DoD is already essentially planning to run exercises, and these will obviously be using drones and involving drone threats. So they're already getting ahead. Obviously, I'm not saying they're directly connected, but now they're essentially making it so that we're going to be start ratcheting down, so we're functionally having less and less drones from civilians, is what it sounds like to me. Which, if you have a country run amok, you look at in other countries right now and what's going on with drone warfare. And while it is scary when you look at something like Israel and you see how they're using drones, I don't know if I mentioned this, but recently one of their drone murder bots killed, I think, like 15 aid workers. It was like last week. This was on antiwarnews.com or antiwar.com. But so that's terrifying. You're like, geez. But like on the flip side, it's like you look at the drones that are being used by, like, say, and I'm not saying I agree with their actions, but like I believe the Houthi pirates were using them and stuff. So we're getting to a point to where like you're essentially making it so that people like us are more apt to fight against large powers. So it's kind of like a power to the people thing. Like obviously there's the you can take the government side of it and like soup these up, and you have these cool murder robots. But on the flip side, it's like the civilian population, it's not very hard for them to make the murder robots either. Maybe they're not won't be as flashy as theirs, but it's a decentralized guerrilla force that if they all had a bunch of drones, civilian drones. I mean, we look at the response to the hurricane stuff we had recently, and how many civilian pilots were running around and stuff. I don't know, maybe to some extent the government's like, oh shit, like, because it's like if they ever pop off, I mean, I know like a lot of people think it's ridiculous, but it's like, I don't know. I mean, it may not work out well for them, but this may be some sort of getting ahead of things and you know, pulling this shit back a little bit. Not that I think we're ever going to go to live war anytime soon with the government, but it's just kind of one of these things of like trying to curb the power of the people, essentially. Much of the discussion about UAS focuses on standing up structures to respond, giving credence to the accusations by New York and New Jersey reps that the feds are behind the curve. Sections 152, 353, and 925 are about capabilities building. Section 152 stipulates that air bases will have a series of site requirements, including the capability to counter UAS. While this doesn't apply to bases where they've already been seen, it does speak to the recognition that the capability is needed. All right, guys, that is, I think, all we'll be going today, aside from the reading. I will maybe maybe on Thursday. I think I may be doing another one of these morning dumps on Thursday, and maybe another on Friday. So between one of those, maybe we'll bring up the Mises Caucus thread where they're making fun of James Lindsay, so I can kind of point out where this guy is so fucking retarded. Let's go through the chat real quick before we get into the reading, but I do want to give you guys a little bit of a disclaimer, as I've been doing lately, because you never know when we have a new listener or whatever, but the Dutroux stuff is particularly fucking dark. So if you don't want to listen to that, pop out. So just warning you. But we're reading, I forget what part, we're on like part 10 or something crazy of this huge mega article on the Dutroux affair. So we are all getting learned up on it together. And likely it'll probably be what me and Austin probably end up covering on Tinfoil Hat in probably the next few months. Just heard back from the booker yesterday. We're going to schedule something here soon. So, yeah, so that'll probably be what we're talking about. We're talking about Gladio and kind of how it's like a bit of an everything conspiracy, which, as you guys are kind of talking on here about how like Corbeau or how he's talking about the boys in the tracks and how that connects into God, what am I trying to into the Franklin Credit Union with the Franklin scandal. So it's like boom, you just a few little connections, and ta-da! Now you have this whole network that's kind of all tied into itself with different aspects to it. Let me see. Peanut butter and toast is also a banger. Is that the former obese New Jersey governor guy? I forget where Chris Christie was. I want to say it was New Jersey. It sounds about right. BlueBeam, dick down, inbound. Maybe. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe it ends with just these legislation pushes. I have a hard time believing they get really much of substance out of it because it's such a joke of a story. But maybe they could get some laws passed through it, and they get to use this as an example of like, we'll see, we clearly can't just be having civilians flying their drones all over the place because that's going to cause problems. So we need to limit the civilian usage of drones. We can't be having this in a country like this because clearly they're just too stupid to be able to handle that power. Because if we don't, then now we have a bunch of UFO stories. So ta-da. Cliff's dad is CIA. They're just on this Cliff High thing. Okay, if you say so. It's more about expanding legislation about the drones, is what Emily says. That's what the big deal to pay attention to. How are they going to legally take away more of our rights while we're distracted? Exactly. And also, he says screw the rebellion, testing the waters and priming the pump for a BlueBeam up, which is also like, yeah, I guess if we all do go mega retarded on this, and they're like, I guess we could do a full-blown BlueBeam, so be careful not to get too sucked up into this shit, I guess. Top wants Clint to beg for forgiveness for doubting him. I mean, in a certain sense, they kind of called it. So, yeah. Oh, I want to make fun of James Lindsay. Well, then stick around. We'll be back maybe Thursday or Friday. We'll probably have to do it. His spiral has been hilarious. It sure has. Hotep Jesus and me block. I don't know. Okay, well, I'm sorry he did that to you. I can't tell if Lindsay is a sodomite or if he's just an academia milieu weirdo. The crazy thing is you think there's a difference. James Lindsay thinks any critical analysis is woke because he's funded by America First people. Yeah, he's a big fag. Let me see. Nah, he's just an atheist academic who found out his God wasn't real, spiraling to irrelevance, just like Sam Harris. He isn't gay, but he loves sucking dicks. You guys are funny. Let me see. The little drones dropping grenades and the ones with the TNT running into armor and people is fucking nuts. Yeah, the shit we were seeing over in Ukraine and Russia. The government will never be able to stop civilian drone warfare. They will just build them like guns. Yes, but this definitely seems like it may be an attempt at trying to tamp down on it at least a little bit. Eric Weinstein tried to warn me against this when he first started. His Portal podcast. Technology gets cheaper by default. more capable weapons will always end in the hands of less fortunate. Yeah, so like in a certain sense, all this technology is kind of like a power of the people thing. So in a lot of ways, it's kind of good, but also it is really dark when you see first world countries using it. You're like, holy fuck. You're not allowed to talk about Jay-Z. Who said you're not allowed to talk about Jay-Z? I've talked about Jay-Z plenty. All right, guys, let's get into our reading of the Dutroux affair. Where are we at in this? We are in the accused in finance. We talked about last time. We're getting really in the weeds here, so if you're just jumping in, you are going to be lost. But we're going to get into, I believe, some of the multiple letter agencies that probably had some sort of weird finance connections to all of this whole shindig. So we'll get into that now, and then we'll suddenly pop in. Y'all seen when they welded cages in the tanks to put POWs as drone armor? No, I can't say I have. Those fucking Weinstein brothers are the biggest midwit retards. I believe one of them, too. I saw something that had been commissioned by, like, the UN or something to write a paper about, like, depopulation or something crazy. I can't recall. I mean, maybe some of y'all do. Let me know if you do. I'm a 3D print a drone and spray LSD and Ativan on some motherfuckers. That would be an interesting thing to do if you were able to, like, hit military bases with just, like, fucking hallucinogens. That'd be dope. That would be some high-class psychological warfare. All right, let's get into the reading, guys. Well, real quick, let me scan the Rumble. Let me poke in there, make sure I'm not missing anything. Nope. All right, back into it. All right, the accused in finance. A bit of history first. The land which eventually became the state of Belgium has mainly been a battleground between Catholic and liberal Protestant interests. Over the centuries and decades, this land subsequently belonged to the Spanish and Austrian Habsburgs, Napoleon's France, and since 1815, the Netherlands. In 1830, mainly the Catholic middle and upper class living in the southern provinces of the United Netherlands had become so fed up with their lack of self-determination they staged a revolution. It succeeded and the state of Belgium was born. Families like de Merode and de Ling were initially offered the throne, but they refused, and the Saxe-Coburg-Gothas came in. Okay. All right. I'm just trying to process that. All right. The major bank in Belgium and the central pillar of its industry was Société Générale des Pays Bas, established by King William I of Orange in 1822 for the exact purpose of financing the growth of Belgian industry. After the revolution, the name changed to Société Générale de Belgique, and some of Belgium's major aristocratic, man, I'm going to have trouble with words today, sorry guys, families gained control over it. This control by families as de Merode, de Mies, and Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, Janssen, Lippens, Bohl, and Salve remained throughout the 19th and 20th century, with the Vatican Bank also holding a significant stake. William of Orange eventually let go of the bank. Société Générale's influence over the Belgian economy has always been huge, controlling anywhere between 25 and 50% of Belgium's manufacturing industry. It was only in 1988 the unimaginable happened. The French Suez Group took over the bank, and with that, a large chunk of Belgium's economy. Viscount Etienne d'Avignon was made chairman and remained in that position until 2001. Count Maurice Lippens became the bank's vice chairman. Okay, so it sounds like our main bank. I would assume it might even be like maybe some sort of federal bank. I don't know. Or a central bank, essentially. I'm not sure. The other major historical bank holding firm in Belgium is Group Bruxelles Lambert. Its history starting around 1830 when a banker named Lazare Richtenberg became an agent of the London Rothschilds. The son-in-law of Richtenberger, Samuel Lambert, took over the business 10 years later. The Rothschilds would often come and visit Samuel and his son Leon in Brussels to advise them on social and political events affecting the markets. Especially James de Rothschild made sure that Bank Lambert focused on financing the railroad companies. Like the Morgans, Harrimans, and Schiffs were doing in the United States. I wonder if those are the Schiff that I'm thinking of. Maybe not. Leon married Zoe Lucy de Rothschild in 1882, fulfilled diplomatic functions, and became the most important financial advisor to King Leopold II of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha. When Leopold acquired the Congo as his own private slave colony in 1885, Leon took over a large part of the financial matters there. Ironically, the Rothschilds backed Cecil Rhodes, was one of Leopold's competitors in Africa. Real quick, sorry. Sorry, I had a cough. All right. The Lamberts appear to have remained close associates of the Rothschilds until this day, but their influence in Belgian banking seems to have waned. Bank Bruxelles Lambert has been taken over by the Dutch bank ING in 1998, while the Lamberts only have an honorary mentioning in the list of directors of Group Bruxelles Lambert. The Belgian Frere and Canadian Desmarais families are the ones in control of GBL these days. These two families also have large influence on the Suez Group, which owns Societe Generale. In other words, Belgium's primary banks are fully or largely owned by Dutch, Canadian, or French interests. Another important aristocratic Belgian company is the chemical giant Solvay, founded in 1863 by the Solvay family. It went public in 1967, but the Solvay and Boll families were able to keep control over the company through their holding Union Financière Boll. The Jansens, de Celliers, de Moranvilles, and Karen Van Meert are also major shareholders of Solvay, or today's holding company, Solvac. In 2003, Van Meert replaced Etienne d'Avignon as director of Solvay. Below is a table which shows some of the interaction between the premier industrial and banking families of Belgium. Although it was tighter in previous decades before the nouveau riche and foreign interests mixed in, Belgium's economy is still controlled by a small oligarchy of aristocratic families centered around the royal court. So long story short, just the economy is basically a bunch of small families, essentially. So, bunch of banker families kind of, run their economy, essentially. Or, if you really get to the tippy top, which, whatever, not that crazy. But obviously, it's a small amount of people is kind of what they're getting at, which ties into, what we're going to be, what this is. Besides the royal family, Viscount Etienne d'Avignon is probably the most well-known of this group internationally, although he comes from a less influential family than the others that are listed. D'Avignon might well be the most influential person of mainland Europe in the globalization process, with a particular focus on integrating Europe along the lines of Anglo-Saxon liberal policies. Besides his positions in the companies above, D'Avignon has held or still holds the following positions: First President of the International Energy Agency, Director of Kissinger Associates, and a good friend of Henry Kissinger, Director of Menorco/Anglo-American Corporation, Vice President of the European Commission, co-founder of the European Roundtable of Industrialists, was someone who at different time worked for the Rockefellers, Kissinger, Rothschilds, and Lazard Bank, co-founder and president of the Association for the Monetary Union of Europe, chairman of CSR Europe, founder of the EU-Japan Center for Industrial Cooperation, chairman for the EU-Japan Business Dialogue, co-founder and president of Friends of Europe, allegedly a former governor of Ditchley, a very elite Anglo-American Canadian network, director of the European Institute until the early 2000s, together with former Secretary of State and Kissinger Associates President Lawrence Eagleburger and other U.S. and European elites. The board was and is under the chairmanship of Andre Yves Istel of Rothschild Incorporated, chairman of the Royal Institute for International Relations, member of the U.S. Council on Foreign Relations, which that's big, member of the Trilateral Commission, that's big, and an honorary chairman of Bilderberg. I don't know how many chairmans are normally at Bilderberg, but I would presume that's big as well. So this dude is spooked the fuck up. Viscount Etienne d'Avignon. That's who this guy is. What does he have? The d'Avignon family. Okay, they're the ones that were running Solvay, before 2003. So Solvay, they're the Belgian company, Belgian chemical company. So this is where a lot of the money comes from. This is who's running that, or ran it before 2003, which is going to be kind of around the time period we're talking about. All right. One of Davignon's closest sidekicks in business in the globalization process is Count Maurice Lippens, whom he really got to know in the late 1980s when both ran Societe Generale. Together, they also ran the Belgian branch of the Dutch-Belgian Fortis Bank, and they set up SN Brussels Airlines. Maurice visited Bilderberg in 2000, 2002, and 2006, and has become an annual visitor of the Trilateral Commission in recent years. About these meetings, he stated, I have never visited Davos and think it's one big carnival. I receive the membership lists and can, if I want to, call up anyone I'm interested in. I like to visit Bilderberg and the Trilateral Commission. Bilderberg is intense. Their one has to work from the early morning to the late evening. The round table of industrialists is interesting, but I'm not a member because I'm not an industrialist. Talking about the future of the world is a difficult thing, by the way. I do like to listen and network in Washington with the Trilateral Commission. You'll hear about interesting trends from firsthand. Now, why is all of this important, you ask? Well, for starters, because the Lipins family appears all over the X dossiers. X1, X2, and X4, and 2 anonymous letters all name Maurice Lipins and his brother Leopold, the longtime mayor of Knock, as vicious child abusers not only involved in regular grape, but also in the snuff network. Additionally, a relative of them, Count Francois Lipins, the honorary consul general of Belgium, appears somewhat deep in the Dutroux dossier. Transmitted to examining magistrate Mr. Langlois in Neufchâteau, his dossier a note on the existence of a snuff network of which Mr. Glatz of the CIDE would have had knowledge and in which one would find a certain Francois Lipins, who is close to the mayor of Knock, whose name is often mentioned in very horrible activities. I conducted no verification or cross-check. So this was in the Dutroux dossier. Etienne Davignon is another person whose name comes up in the X dossier, who's the guy we were talking about earlier. Although he has not been implicated to the extent of the Lipins family, and I guess he's buddies with the Lipins, with the Lipins. Just dossier or Davignon seems to be a bigger fish in the power game. X2, the police officer, apparently was the only one to mention him as a participant in parties, together with the Lipins brothers, where underage girls were abused. So this is in quotes. I believe this is probably from X2. Parties with underage girls in the Cromwell Hotel in Knock. President Delvoye, Carroll, X2, Lipins, Van Galoo, Etienne Davignon. The girls knew where to go and with whom. Lipins hits the little girls. Several meetings between Karen and Davignon in the Memling Hotel with the 2 Lipins. X2 speaks of 2 Carrolls in her testimony. The first one is a high official in a Brussels court whose mistress she was. The other one is Dr. Carol Van Meert, who briefly appeared in the table above. Carol is a well-known socialist politician from Flanders. His biography includes member of the European Parliament from 1979 to 1985 and from 1989 to 1994. Went to Bilderberg in 1993. Vice President of the Advisory Council of the European Policy Center, a liberal globalist institution with such extremely influential advisors as Peter Sutherland, Max Constam, and Lord Care of Kinlochard. Member of the Brussels Freemasonry Lodge Erasmus and a member of the Grand Lodge of Belgium. President of Nyenrode Business University from 2000 to 2003. Formerly an advisor to the Rabobank, one of the largest banks in the Netherlands. Joined the board of Anglo-American Corporation in 2002 and is a member of the Audit and Nomination Committees. Succeeded Etienne Davignon as a director of Solvay in 2003. Member of the advisory board of La Maison de l'Europe of Bibliothèque Solvay. Member of the supervisory boards of German utility giant RWE, Philips NV, Munich RE, and Vivendi Universal. Member of the advisory boards of Goldman Sachs, Eli Lilly, and Afka Gavart. Director of Carrefour Belgium and Walters Kluwer. And the director of the Paris Group, the Press Group is what that means. A media corporation that owns newspapers and news magazines like Het Last Nieuws, De Morgen, and then Die Chid and Het Parool. It owns about 30 to 40% of the magazines on the market in Flanders. Who else in the table above is mentioned in the X dossiers? Take the de Merode family, for instance. Prince Alexander de Merode was mentioned by both Natalie W. and X4 as a central player in the satanic aspect of the child abuse and unaliving network. Additionally, X2, who was spared the worst abuse, mentioned having been in the presence of the Merode brothers, apparently Prince Baudouin de Merode, a Knight of Malta, and his younger brother Lionel, together with a whole bunch of the worst aristocratic abusers. We will get back to this family. Charles Deselles de Moranville, apparently a lawyer in Brussels, appears in a document of the X dossiers, although what exactly he has been accused of is not clear. The following text could be found in the summary of PV 103.204/97. While doing work at Rue de Neuchâtel 62 in St. Gilles, the witness noticed the existence of an almost unfinished subterranean bunker. A tunnel was concealed behind one of the walls. He was surprised by a conversation in which a lady said, "The children will be well here." All right. Because of the background of this family, its connections to alleged abusers, and a rumor going around the net that Charles has been accused on another occasion, it has been included in this article. Charles's name appears in a column that lists the accused mixed in with a few victims. Charles doesn't seem to have a background of a victim, as members of the Deselles de Moranville family can be found in the Jesuits, Cercle de Lorraine, Banque Privée Edmond de Rothschild in Geneva, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, Fortis, Solvay, and Coca-Cola Belgium. Did you notice how Solvay seems to come up a lot? Etienne d'Avignon, Karel van Meert, and Guy Deselles de Moranville were all directors of this company. But there's more. The Bowles and Jansons, both major shareholders in Solvay, were accused of trade in drugs and children in 1999, aside from the X dossiers. So this is apart from the X dossier. So this is a separate occasion. Francois Dehaye, whose husband was named by X2 as being a part of the abuse network, is a quality and innovation manager at Solvay. The gameskeeper and/or woodsman of La Hope, the castle of the Solvay family, has been accused of being a violent child abuser. And how about the strange statements about Chateau des Amoureux, owned by the Solvay family, which also appears in the Dutroux dossier? The Belgian royal family has been implicated on several occasions. X2 spoke about a girl she had known who had been unalived. Now this girl had told her about the domain of Princess Liliane de Retty, a madwoman, where children were buried. Liliane was the second wife of King Leopold III, who died in 1983, and lived until her death in 2002 at Château d'Argentoul. In 2004, the Delwart family, shareholders of Sauvé, bought the domain. From personal experience, X2 mentioned having seen Prince Laurent, the brother of Belgium's present crown prince. Laurent apparently was more interested in cranking it to kid abuse orgies than taking part in the actual abuse. Gross. X3 implicated Prince Charles, who 1903 to 1983, the second son of King Albert I, King Baudouin, who was from 1930 to 1993, and the eldest son of King Leopold III, and either King Albert I or II. Unfortunately, X3 spoke about experiences from the 1950s and early 1960s, which meant none of the other X dossier witnesses could confirm aspects of her story. Two of her primary abusers, Paul Van den Boynens and Charlie Dutroux, had already appeared in the Pinon file of the early 1980s. The same is true for King Albert II. Additionally, part of the details of the abuse described by X3, although recognizable, can be a bit hard to swallow, the scale and setting, all making her testimony hard to use without more backup from other witnesses. In X3's support, however, she was a well-respected person in the support community for abused women and children, and her interviewers refused to write down most of what she said. A few excerpts from the summary written about X3's testimonies. All right, this is from X3's testimony. The car stopped in a parterre before the house. It was surrounded by a park. Two supervisors were present, Ralph and Walter. The children were taken to a tower made of natural stone and with a wooden door. An underground corridor left from the turret toward the cellars, without light, going downward. In the cellars, there were cells where the children were locked up, awaiting their turn. There also were some cells for the dogs, which were Dobermans. The passageway gave way to a room of spectacle. In the tower, unalived kids' bodies in various stages of decomposition, sometimes dismembered and or missing body parts, and carcasses of dogs. Spectators, always the same but difficult to identify, about 50. She recognized the Regent Charles, King Baudouin, and King Albert, and two others that she called Charlie, Dutroux, and Polo, Paul Van den Boynens. She thinks to have recognized Willie Claes, later a NATO Secretary General, and Dr. Van den Einde. The dogs listened to Ralph and Walter. The addicted dogs are excited. Spectacles equals orgies, putting to unaliving kids and dogs. The spectacle room has a strong odor of excrement of dogs. Dogs can roam free in the garden. Gills was castrated by Polo. The other children have to drink the blood. Girls are slashed with razor blades. Ugh. The lips of a certain area of X3 were cut and given to the dogs. Ugh. God. A girl. Yeah. Other pieces of another girl were given to dogs. Ugh. Childbirth by a teenager through a C-section. Baby pulled the stomach and given to the dogs. She saw the dismembered mother again in the exposition of the unalived. She has to eat the human flesh from the bodies. She has to eat pieces of the children served in gelatin. Good taste, slightly sugary. It provoked an enormous sensation of hunger and thirst. Drinking blood relieved the sensation of thirst. She speaks of another unaliving that she committed on a girl of 3 to 5 years under the threat that would be her brother who was unalived. She opened the girl up from the down under area to the breastbone with a knife. She gave the organs to the dog. Someone took off the head. Kid was devoured by the dogs. Unaliving of a young teenage woman who was opened up by the Van den Einde. The baby shouted in the mother's stomach. She resewed the stomach with the baby. And oh my God. Luxurious house with a surrounding wall and gate. Non-illuminating twisting path. There were some stables. Parterre with flowers. Hall of entry equals cream-colored and blue tiles, red carpeting. Walls made of marble with a teenage picture of later King Baudouin on it. She spent a whole night with Baudouin doing stuff. Presents of maid in this house. There were many servants. She remembers one evening when she had been smeared with cream after being brought to the table on a tray. Ugh. She had been licked off and then he did stuff. At the end of another evening, a child had been castrated. The other children that were present buried the boy in a flower bed. She remembers a child who had been decapitated, then cut and fried before being eaten. She remembers kids who hung on hooks in the kitchen. A certain Solange, a female name, had been enucleated. I don't know what that means. I think that might be eyes. With a spoon by her and old lady. Besides the ex-dossier accusations, there have been at least 2 other instances in which high-level members of Belgian society have been accused of doing terrible things to children. By far the most prominent occasion was in May 2004 by The Sprout, an English-language magazine located in Brussels that reports on EU affairs. They wrote an article claiming that Julie and Melissa had been unalived in a snuff movie and that a number of prominent people had been present at this unaliving. However, even though plenty of questions remain about the kidnapping and unaliving of Julie and Melissa, the evidence the Sprout came up with, in the opinion of this author, was not very strong, and their idea of posting pictures of the bodies of Julie and Melissa on the magazine's cover was highly questionable. Even these bodies were to show the girls had not simply died from starvation. Again, in the opinion of this author, the pictures do not show a whole lot, and neither do other pictures that can be found in the final Dutroux dossier. The other case happened in 1999 and centered around the person of Count Jan de Mus de Argentoul. This count came from an influential family who were, and possibly are, significant shareholders in Société Générale. In fact, Count Ferdinand de Mus, the Rothschild of Belgium, became governor of Société Générale in 1830 and helped King Leopold to acquire control over the bank from the Princes of Orange. Count Jan's biography is less prestigious than the average member of this family and is characterized by PDF stuff and psychotherapy. In September 12, 1999, while locked away in a mental institution, unsuccessfully trying to get out, Count Jan drew up a list of personalities he accused of being involved in the trafficking of children and drugs. He sent this list to the investigating agencies in Belgium, France, and the United States, but apparently nothing was done. On November 11, 2000, Count Jan unalived himself. Oh, that is interesting. That is something I may have to look into. All right, that is something. Because this sounds like a member, royal. I mean, I don't know if they say royal family, but some important family guy, that fucking speaking out. And then, wow, that's weird. He's gone. All right. I mean, he obviously, Anyways, at first glance, the list doesn't seem very interesting because none of the names match those that appeared in the X dossiers. However, it must be said there are a huge amount of private and business links between the men on Count Jan's list and those in the X dossier. Sorry, there we go. All right. I was trying to see how much we had left. All right, take members of the Lambert, Bull, Janssen, and De Leont families, which appear on Count Jan's list. They share boards, private clubs, and foundations with Davignon, the Lippins, and Desseliers de Morinville families. The Bulls have been to the European Roundtable, the Jansens to Bilderberg, the Trilateral Convention, the CFR, the Atlantic Institute of International Affairs, the Royal Institute of International Relations, etc. Particularly chilling is the involvement of the Lippens, Delannoy, and Celles de Moranville families in the Belgian Kids Foundation for Pediatric Research. Take Philippe de Patul, who worked at Bank Lambert, and in 1995 set up the TNN Trust and Management Ltd. with Bernard de Merode. Bernard de Merode married the sister of Baron de Bonvoisin, one of the abusers in the testimonies of X1 and X2, and now works at Risk Analysis, a firm headed by two retired but formerly very senior MI5 agents. Bernard's family, as already stated, features quite prominently in the X dossiers also. Take examining magistrate Benoit de Gemep, who was a protege of Melchior Wathelet, who in turn was a protege of Paul van den Boynants, both allegedly extremely violent child abusers. De Gemep is quite a controversial judge who in 1996 tried to separate Anne Bote's dossier from the Dutroux child abuse dossier through Georges Marnet. It must also be stated, however, that de Gemep was responsible for locking up Count Yon. Take magistrate Yves de Prel de la Nieppe, who is a member of a rather small club called Carnet Mondaine. Other members of the club are Charles de Salles de Marenville and wife, Jacques G. Bonnet, Baron Guibert de Veillon, which, by the way, the wife of Charles de Salles, it was accused of involvement in the child abuse network. Jacques G. Jonet, accused of covering up the Pinon affair, once Otto von Habsburg's political secretary, through his involvement with Mouvement d'Action pour l'Unité Européenne. He came at CPIC and de Bonvoisin's PDG headquarters. And this Baron Guibert de Varon, who is a family member who's accused of trafficking drugs in children and is married into the Decatur's family, which has been accused in the Dex dossiers. Sorry, I know this is listing off all stuff. These are all names you're not familiar with, and so each one of them have in parentheses stuff, kind of going into stuff they did. And then Countess Rodolphe de Ursel, who is a family member who is accused of being part of the abuse and snuff network of Baron de Bonvoisin, to whom his family is close. Take Axel Vervoet, a well-known art dealer and alleged PDF, whose art castle is located next to a domain, next to a domain where X1 said child unalivings took place, or Prince Alexander of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, the stepson of the earlier mentioned Princess Liliane de Rethy, or Chevalier Pierre Bachot, the former president and chairman of the African Bank Belgolais, majority owned by the 40-year bank of such figures as Maurice Lippens, Etienne d'Avignon, Baron Daniel Johnson, and Guy de Salares de Moranville. Jeez Louise, these names. To summarize this part of the article, as for the families described above, by far the most convincing evidence has been gathered against the Lippens family, of which 3 members have been accused by about half a dozen witnesses of the same type of extreme abuse. Evidence against the princes of Merode has also been stacking up. Besides testimonies from X4, Natalie W., and supplementary information from X2, it's also telling that the Merode family is intermarried with the de Bonvoisins, a very notorious family on which we still need to focus. Who places trust in testimony of X2 will additionally hold serious suspicions against such individuals as Etienne d'Avignon, Carol van Meert, and Princess Liliane de Rethy, or the whole royal family. As for the de Celliers de Moranville family, there remains a lack of detail in the accusations against them. The same goes for the Solvay family, in which we're talking about circumstantial evidence anyway, albeit quite a lot. And last, and certainly least, the accusations of Count Jan de Mois de Argentoul. They might have been interesting and insightful to this author to identify Belgium's aristocracy, but there's no denying that without additional research, they remain quite unreliable. All right, next time we'll be going over the accused in private intelligence in politics. All right, let's pop back over, see what you guys have to say before we get on out of here. Stop sharing. Let's pop into you guys. All right. Brett isn't nearly as bad as Eric. I don't know. I don't really follow these guys much. Anyways, Eric did introduce me to the word I always have to look up because it won't fit into my long-term memory. Kayfabe. Kayfabe, I remember. That's just wrestling, essentially. My favorite May Brussels quote, Henry Kissinger is a disease. 100%. Viscount equals Viscount? Okay, so that's the pronunciation. All right, hey, Hey, okay, my bad. All right. All right, cool. Well, I'll keep that in mind. Viscount, the IS takes on the I. Viscount. I don't like how that sounds, though. Solvay, Solvet Coagula / Baphomet. I have no idea what that means. Insane, man. Yeah, the shit is insane. It is wild shit. All right, guys, we are going to get out of here. I should be doing another one of these morning dumps come Thursday, probably another one Friday. So keep an eye out. Obviously, Tuesday, tomorrow, I'll be doing a live stream with my buddy Austin Picard at 9:30 Eastern, as always. And then, yeah. And then on Thursday, I'll be doing a paywall episode. If you guys want to support the show, you can get that early stuff over at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. The lowest level is $2. That gives you the early episodes. It also allows you to be a talking head on Already Dead alongside me and Austin during the call-in portion of the show. You can do a video call-in, essentially. Yeah, I do also want to let you guys know, someone said something about breaking up these videos by chapters so people can, pop to the point they want to. Because especially the way these morning streams works, I do kind of do different topics. So that would make sense. I need to work on that soon. Because to do that's a whole pain in the ass, and I gotta download like a fucking transcript thing that then, anyways, that's a whole thing I gotta do. So I should be doing that here soon at some point. So between that and then the ad-free Patreon, I'm gonna be trying to work on here soon. Those are things that should be coming. So it'll be looking a little bit cleaner. I'm starting to use some like AI tools and stuff. So making a lot of these, as we were saying, technology helps out the poors. So you're looking at it right here. The technology is improving to the point to where it's becoming helping us out with all the different shit. So, yeah. But yes. Anyways, patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. The lowest level is the $2 early episodes. The talking head on Already Dead. Highest level is my sponsors. I read them off every episode of my co-host on Tower Gang at Tower Gang Toad. Also have at Abrogate D's then at _ Infinite Zeal at ZOVERACK. Jacob Daniel, the Biblical Anarchy podcast. You can follow him at Biblical Anarchy. Then Tim Tuttle at Jolly on Klebold. Then Will Bell, his delicious blueberry rabbit eye wine. Then a big fan of the show, Real Josh Elliott. Then Torin May. I appreciate you guys for your support. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. As I mentioned earlier in the show, if you guys really want to help out the show, like that, like, share, subscribe, that kind of stuff, sharing clips out there, tag me, I will boost them, helping, get content for the show, tagging me in that, even things as simple as, a quick review on your audio podcatcher that you use, especially like iTunes or Spotify. That's a big deal. So a 5-star goes a long way. But yeah, I love you all. I'll be back soon. We'll do this again. Deuces. And we got one more. Thanks, Jose, from old Eddie Grimm. All right, see you guys. Deuces.